Two more top officials of government have stepped down from their posts just days before President Bongbong Marcos marks his first 100 days in office.
Those who resigned are now former Press Secretary Trixie Cruz-Angeles and former Commission on Audit Chairperson Jose Calida. Maricel Halili with the big story.
Two more officials have stepped down from the Marcos administration on Tuesday. Press Secretary Trixie Cruz-Angeles announced that she has stepped down from her post due to health reasons. In a statement, Angeles said she tendered her resignation, which will be effective end of business hours. She, however, did not provide further details. Senior Deputy Executive Secretary Hubert Guevara said President Bongbong Marcos is already aware of the secretary's resignation. Guevara says the president has even left Angeles a thank you note. As of now, it is not clear yet who will take her place as the press secretary.
Wala pong bagong press secretary.
Alam niyo si Presidente, napakadaming inaasikaso. And I think there will be time for that selection process. Let us give the President more time.
Commission on Audit Chairperson Jose Calida also tendered his resignation as confirmed by Executive Secretary Bersamin. Calida's resignation came just after 10 officials, excluding the former COA chairperson, were reappointed by the agency. Those reappointed took their oath before President Bongbong Marcos, following their bypass by the Commission on Appointments. Also bypassed was former Executive Secretary Vic Rodriguez, who was earlier reported to be the presidential chief of staff through Administrative Order Number 1. But Executive Secretary Lucas Bersamin says that to his knowledge, there is no such thing as an AO1. What is clear to them is that Attorney Rodriguez is no longer part of the cabinet following his earlier resignation.
He is no longer a member of the cabinet. You must recall that he resigned for a specific reason, and that reason is well published to you. We cannot second guess that reason. Take it as it is stated by, as it was stated by the Secretary, and let us respect his privacy.
For News 5, Maricel Halili, We Are One News.
See?
President Bongbong Marcos has renewed the ad interim appointments of 10 members of his cabinet. Here's what we know. Earlier today, Marcos Jr. led the oath-taking of the following cabinet members: Finance Secretary Ben Jokno, Socio-Economic Secretary Arsenio Balisacan, Public Works Secretary Manny Bonoan, Trade Secretary Fred Pascual, and Social Welfare Secretary Erwin Tulfo. President Marcos also reappointed Transport Chief Jimmy Bautista, DOST Secretary Renato Solidum, Energy Secretary Rafael Lotilla, Migrant Worker Secretary Toots Ople, and Human Settlement Secretary Jose Rizalino Acuzar.
To discuss the recent movements in Malacanang, we have with us again here in the studio One News Chief Correspondent Ed Lingao. Good evening, Bo.
Good evening. Different topic this time.
Oh, we had been talking, I mean, there were already rumors ever since Vic Rodriguez was replaced as Executive Secretary that maybe Trixie Cruz-Angeles as well. Now that this comes, is this necessarily a surprise?
Actually, no. We've been hearing about this for the last, 2 or 3 weeks already. Ever since Vic Rodriguez resigned as Executive Secretary, and Trixie Angeles announced that he was being appointed as Chief of Staff. I think sunod-sunod yun eh. Kasi that announcement apparently was not true. That was belied by the Executive Secretary himself. Eh. That order was never signed by the President. So
AO1.
AO1. So in other words, Trixie Angeles gave, I don't know, you want to call it fake news.
Okay, but sorry, just quickly. Does that mean we still do not know how AO1 was actually crafted? Or if it was...
Yeah, we don't know which version of AO1...
but you're not saying that there's no verification it was never...
It's already moot kasi as far as at least the ES announced kanina, it was never signed. So for all we know, it never even got up the ladder. I mean, binaril kagad din really. So we don't know if it was even considered by the President.
Okay, but the matter of it having been signed is actually not true.
Yes, it's not true, at least according to the Executive Secretary. And he is, of course, the little President.
Well, Trixie Cruz-Angeles and Jose Calida both stated that they have medical conditions.
Reasons.
Yeah, Do you, I mean, what is the truthfulness to that? And do you think it has any relation, the resignation, with E.S. Bersamin?
Well, the reason of medical condition, it's always been used as a euphemism for, or a code word for political reasons. So that's possible in the case of Trixie Cruz-Angeles. However, in the case of Jose Calida, he's always been very loyal to both Duterte and Marcos. In fact, in 2016, he convened the ALDA movement, the Alianza Duterte Bongbong movement. He was a convener, and he pushed that forward. So there's no, and in 2016, he was also fighting very, very forcefully for the burial of the late president sa libingan ng mga bayani. Sabi ni Duterte mismo. So klaro naman yung kanyang loyalties. But the thing is this, during the budget hearing of the Commission on Audit last month, the House of Representatives, they were looking for Calida, and he was not there. The reason that was given was that he was under medical leave, and he'd been under medical leave since September 1.
I was going to say.
Whether what the condition is, we are not yet clear. There's been some sickness bandied around, but we are not yet sure about that. But apparently, this predates even this event.
Okay. Now, in any case, what does this mean? Particularly Trixie Cruz-Angeles and finding a new press secretary. I don't know about you, but I think Vic Rodriguez, I think Trixie Cruz-Angeles, I think all the way back to the presidential campaign, and I associate them with basically being a cordon sanitaire for President Marcos. Very strict and very disciplined, we have to say. That's the most positive people have put it. A very disciplined cordon sanitaire. Do you suspect a loosening of that environment in Malacanang?
Well, it depends on how you want to look at it. On one hand, you have Trixie Cruz-Angeles with their army of vloggers. She had earlier endorsed the vloggers as possible accreditees of the Malacanang Press Corps. And in the last few weeks, we've also seen fissures within the vlogging community. These are the people who are very, very vociferously for Bongbong Marcos. They would fight tooth and nail for Bongbong Marcos. Nahati sila. Merong pro Vic Rodriguez at merong anti-Vic Rodriguez. However, what's noticeable here is that you may be pro or anti-Vic, but they are all still very, very pro-BBM. So you can expect that moving forward. Now, whatever happens with this this case with Vic Rodriguez, ano pa rin yan? The narrative will still continue that nag-aaway lang sila sa baba. You have several factions, 2 factions, but in the end, they're still all for BBM. So that much is clear.
Compared to the other administrations, would you say that this has been the most tumultuous before the 100 days of President Marcos? And what would that say about the inner circle?
You also saw quite a lot of action ng panahon ni Tita Cory. Of course, that was a different circumstance. That's coming from an entirely different world.
Literally a revolutionary situation.
And you had also pressure from the rightist rebels for Cory to make some concessions. And that's what happened along the line. Kaya nagliglagan yung maraming mga supposedly kaliwa na cabinet members. So you also saw, some bloodshed nung panahon ni Cory. Pero since then, wala masyado eh.
At the very least, people try to make it to the first 100 days on a high note. So even if you were to take away any comparison to any other administration, it's been a tumultuous week for this very young administration.
For 3 months.
Diba? I mean, Singapore really dominates the optics. You had Carding, devastating agriculture, people basically saying, we want to see how the president acts on this. Singapore takes that over, and people are...
Don't forget the prices.
That's right. And then the announcement on top of that prices will probably rise at least 20%. That's just for rice. People dismayed with the president, questioning his judgment, pushing through with whatever it was, whether it was a personal trip or a working trip, whatever it was, people questioning him. But that on top of now, which are major movements within his cabinet, what does this do to the narrative of President Ferdinand Marcos, even just for this week, when people are going to talk about his first 100 days?
Interesting question, but I'll refer back to what I mentioned a while ago with the vloggers, because that's going to be the predominant, I think that's going to be the predominant narrative. That mag-away-away man kayo sa baba, unity pa rin pagdating sa Pangulo.
So we fall back on unity again, and we'll see how much
Because
magic.
that's what we're seeing right now.
Yeah.